Hey everybody, welcome to the deep dive on LinkedIn's ad platform. And this is going to be really cool training for you because there are a couple really key things going on in LinkedIn right now that are big trends that are kind of changing the way the industry works in some ways and getting LinkedIn a lot of attention for its advertising platform. And in a nutshell, it's one, LinkedIn over the last couple of years has made a ton of changes to improve their advertising platform that's made it super effective and added just a lot of really neat bells and whistles that are just making it plain more effective than it used to be. And the second thing is that people are seeing diminishing returns in other places, more competitive on Facebook and such, higher costs. And so more people are looking to LinkedIn as potentially a second ad channel to start exploring. So we're going to be diving into some of the core strategies that are working best right now and a lot of the new things on LinkedIn that you might not be aware of, and really just the best practices for what you need to be able to know and do to get maximum results from LinkedIn ads and to be able to drive more leads and acquire more customers for your business using LinkedIn. So before I get too far along, my name's Josh Turner. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Linked Selling. And over the past decade, my company has been specializing in helping business owners get more leads, appointments, and clients using social media. And the one tool that we are most well known for and where we really carved out a niche for ourselves is LinkedIn specifically. And over this time, we started doing this stuff in 2011, and since then we've had some pretty big honors. We've been on the Inc. 5000 list a few times now, and the Entrepreneur 360 list. I've had a Wall Street Journal best-selling book called Connect that a lot of people consider to be the go-to reference guide to using LinkedIn to grow your business. And we're honored to be working with Digital Marketer as well and speaking at TNC and a lot of other cool things in that regard. And the main thing that I want to mention is that this stuff, the things I'm going to be showing you, have been responsible across all the divisions of our business, over $1 billion in sales for our clients. So this is stuff that we are actually doing for our clients. We're a company that really, first and foremost, we're an agency where we do this stuff for people. So the things that we're showing you are really the things that are actually working today. So with that, another cool thing is that we actually work really closely with LinkedIn. You might have seen that not too long ago they featured a case study on our business and some of the cool things that we're doing with the new features that the LinkedIn Ads platform has recently rolled out. So that's something cool to look into, and it's been really fun to work really closely with their team. And a lot of those insights that we've gotten from them are what we're going to be bringing you in this training. So a couple guys I want to introduce you to, two people on my team that are you're going to be hearing from in the coming lessons and who are going to be really diving deep with you on these things. Is Pat Hensler, our Director of Product here at Linked Selling, as well as our Director of Marketing, Ryan Farrell. And these guys have been working side by side with me and our clients for the last 5+ years on the LinkedIn Ads platform specifically. And even though LinkedIn ads have really only in the last year or two really started to catch fire and get people's attention in a big way, we've been using them for a lot longer than that and getting great results. So these guys know as much about LinkedIn ads as anybody that you can find on the planet, and you are in really good hands with them, and they're going to be diving deeper into some of the coming lessons. So with that, what we're going to be covering over these lessons are really, number one, how do you set the right objective with LinkedIn ads? And this is really important. It's what's the right funnel and what's the right approach to use with LinkedIn ads, because it's not necessarily always going to be exactly what worked on Facebook that you can just plug and play on LinkedIn. There are different platforms, there's some different applications and different ways that you need to approach it, and it really starts with understanding what your objectives are. And probably for most of you, you really should not just copy the exact thing that you're doing on Facebook and expect it to work just the exact same way on LinkedIn. And we'll get into more details on why that's the case. But we've seen way too many people really waste their budget on trying things on LinkedIn the wrong way, not doing it smart, and then walking away from LinkedIn and saying, oh, it was just too expensive for me and LinkedIn doesn't work, and et cetera, et cetera. So there's a right way to get started and to create the right objectives and have the right mindset going into it so that you can set yourself up for long-term success with this. So we're going to walk you through the exact way to tailor your campaign specifically for LinkedIn. After that, we will dive into the best ways to find your market on LinkedIn, how to create the right ad copy and creative that is really going to convert for you, and then how to set up a retargeting playbook. So this is one of the really, really cool things with LinkedIn, that even if you don't do anything else. Even if you're not going after cold audiences, the retargeting options that LinkedIn now has available are really powerful. In some applications, really surprisingly cost effective, actually, and it's really low hanging fruit. That if you're just wanting to do one thing on LinkedIn, this might be the thing to pay attention to. So we got some really cool stuff to share with you on that, as well as how to read your LinkedIn analytics to make sure that you can make the right decisions about everything that you're doing on LinkedIn and just understand the lay of the land there. So getting started with LinkedIn ads, and there's a couple big picture things that I want to mention before we really dive into the nitty gritty and I introduce you to Ryan and Pat. A few of the highlights here is that LinkedIn is, of course, different than Facebook, Instagram, Google, and the other places that you might be advertising right now. But some of the biggest differences are going to be the audience. LinkedIn, I'll get into this in a little more detail, but LinkedIn has a much different type of audience than Facebook per se. And so for some businesses, that's a great thing and a huge opportunity. Now for other businesses, you might determine that maybe Facebook is the best place where your audience is at and LinkedIn isn't. So you need to understand some of those things. The targeting options are much different. And we're going to walk through some of that as well. The competition is much different. And what I mean by that is that there is considerably less competition on LinkedIn right now than there is in any of these other places. Facebook is so saturated. Google is years and years ago it was saturated and became more expensive. But LinkedIn is still, even though LinkedIn ads are becoming a little bit more popular and starting to gain a lot more traction and becoming much more effective, it's still like the early days on LinkedIn. And it's just amazing. Not only the freedom you have for your copy and what LinkedIn will really allow you to do with your advertising, a little more loose with some of their restrictions, I guess you could say. But more so than that, it's just not that many people are using it. And the people that are using it in a lot of cases are really big companies that are using it for brand awareness and just don't understand the things that you know and the things that you're learning through the digital marketer courses and such that give you a huge advantage. And I believe Ryan in one of the coming lessons is going to show you some like crazy examples of the kinds of ads that you typically see on LinkedIn. And you're going to be like, wow, I can't believe people are spending money on ads like that. And so for people that actually know how to create ads and copy and use images that actually pull and convert, it's like wide open right now, and your ads will stand out in front of your competitors. And most of your competitors are not even using LinkedIn ads. So it's a huge advantage there. And then also the final thing that's different is results. One of the big things that we're seeing with LinkedIn and LinkedIn ads specifically is that the cost on the front end is going to be higher than maybe what you're used to on somewhere like Facebook. Cost per click, if that's an important metric for you, and it is for everybody, you're going to see on the surface that LinkedIn ads look like they're going to be way more expensive than Facebook. But the thing is that if you're going after a business audience or professionals or people that work in businesses, you're actually what we typically find with most of our clients is that we might pay a little more for a click on the front end, but that we get a higher conversion rate on the back end, and the ROI is actually significantly greater on LinkedIn than it is on Facebook. And that's not, of course, every business is a little different. You have to test and tweak and see what works best for you. But across the board, we've seen that in a lot of cases. So those are some of the main differences and things to be aware of. Now, this is where I want to start today. And it's why LinkedIn is such a powerful marketing tool, especially for B2B. Not only does it have the most affluent user base by a wide margin of all the social media platforms out there, you also have accurate professional data to use for targeting. So all the things that you see on the screen right now, like job titles, industry, company size, seniority, age, geographic locations, specific LinkedIn groups people are in, things people have been endorsed for, all these different criteria that you can use to target people. So if you're in a situation where you or your clients or your business is going after a B2B market of any sort, this is something that you got to be paying attention to, and it's super powerful. And you can find people in a lot of cases in ways that you can't do this kind of targeting on Facebook. So that's one of the real big differentiators. And then from there, you can see there's another slide showing some of the different cool things that you can target, seeing the seniority levels and different types of positions that you can go after based on how you slice and dice your campaigns. So finally, the last note on this kind of bigger picture demographics about LinkedIn stuff is that LinkedIn actually, this is a little bit of an older graphic. They're closing in on 600 million members now, and they just have a crap load. I don't know if I can say the word crap load on this video, but they have a ton of really, really senior level people and decision makers that are using LinkedIn on a really, really regular basis. A very high percentage of executives check LinkedIn every single day. And so while those people, yes, they use Facebook as well, and they're all using all these different tools that we use to advertise to. In a business setting and to get a message across to a B2B market, it's just a place that you really can't afford to ignore. So who are LinkedIn ads for? Well, there's really a couple main things that we like to consider when we're determining if LinkedIn ads are really right for you. And number one, is your audience on LinkedIn. It's as simple as that. So look at your avatar. We like to call it your prospect profile. Whoever you're wanting to do business with, whoever a good prospect is for you, whatever that person looks like, are they on LinkedIn? Can you find them on LinkedIn? And if the answer is yes, then the second question you need to ask is, does your price point, is it high enough to support LinkedIn advertising? So if you are working in a marketing department for a bigger company, let's say, and you have a big budget that can go just towards things like brand awareness or building your followers to your LinkedIn company page, or just whatever it might be. Bigger companies oftentimes, even if they have low price points, are willing to invest in LinkedIn for more pure brand awareness type investments in advertising. Smaller companies usually are looking at it for more immediate ROI. And so if that's the case, if you're selling a $50 widget, you're not going to want to use LinkedIn ads to get your stuff in front of those people, because it is just not the cheapest ad platform out there. Our best clients that we work with and the people that we see having the most success using LinkedIn ads are people that have a higher ticket offer. We'd really like to see you have an average lifetime value of a client $5,000, $10,000 or more, somewhere in that range. And so if it's much less than $5,000, sometimes the metrics end up not making a lot of sense. Because, for example, if you go back a few slides, if you remember back a few slides back when I talked about that case study that we did where we partnered with LinkedIn to show some of the things that we're doing, that one's centered around a funnel that we have running on LinkedIn ads that is generating roughly, I believe it's an 8-to-1 return on ad spend. And so we had a specific funnel on LinkedIn driving appointments for our sales team. And it was something like we spent $10,000 on ads during this specific test and generated $80,000 in sales. And so that was roughly, I believe, 4 or 5 clients that we signed from that investment. But that cost us $10,000 in ad spend to get it. So if you think about it, well, if 4,000 or 5,000 clients for us were only worth, let's say our clients were only worth $1,000 a piece, well, then all of a sudden that's a loser and it's not very attractive. But because our higher level services, it's a high ticket sale, it makes sense those metrics make a lot of sense for us. So that's kind of the stuff that you need to work through on that end. And the other way to think about it too, if you just want to know, well, how much to get an appointment for my sales team, if that's the way you're going about it. It really varies by industry. But let's say that you can justify at the start to be around $200 an appointment booked for your sales team, then this is something that can work for you. And now everybody's different. It could be more, it could be less for you, but that's kind of a good starting point to make sure it makes sense. Now, what if you're just like, I don't have a sales team, or I'm not interested in driving appointments for my sales team. I want people downloading my ebook, signing up for our webinars and things like that. So typically what you're going to see on LinkedIn is that for something like that, depending on with retargeting, you might be able to get opt-ins for under $5 with certain things that we're going to show you. To cold audiences using sponsored content that shows up in the main LinkedIn feed, you might be more around $15 to $20 for somebody to opt in for a webinar and things like that. So you just have to then look at your metrics and decide if that makes sense for your business, right? So those are the primary 2 things to look at. Are your people on LinkedIn? And does your pricing model give you the flexibility to justify the investment? Does the ROI make sense for you? So from there, there's a first step that I want to walk you through. And this is really the low-hanging fruit on LinkedIn and a really powerful thing to have in place. And what this is installing your LinkedIn Insights tag. So what this is if you're not familiar with it, the Insights tag is LinkedIn's terminology for what is the same thing as like a Facebook pixel. You get a piece of code and you put it on your website, and then that allows LinkedIn to track a lot of things, allows you to retarget visitors, gives you a lot of demographic information on those visitors. So the first step is you add the Insights tag to your website, like I said. So the way you do that, it's really simple. You go into Account Assets inside of LinkedIn's Campaign Manager, and then from there, the Insights tag is in there, and you can get it there. Looks kind of like this. You'll add this to your site, and we've got a step-by-step document that we're including with this lesson to help you if you need more info on this. But you want to do this as soon as possible so that the information can start populating. Even if you're watching this and you're thinking, well, this is LinkedIn ads, we might not invest in this until further on down the road. It costs nothing to install this tag on your website, to just put this little piece of code on your website and let LinkedIn start populating all of this data and really building these audiences. LinkedIn calls them matched audiences, which is similar to Facebook's custom audiences. And so then when you are ready, you've got all this data available. You might even be thinking to yourself like, well, I may never even use LinkedIn ads. And in that case, I'm not sure why you're watching this, maybe just to learn, that's cool. But even if you don't use LinkedIn ads, putting this tag on your website has value for you, and I'll show you why in just a second. So as I mentioned, this is going to allow you to create matched audiences. And this will come back into play when we talk about retargeting as well, because it's having people pixeled or cookied from the Insights tag is what enables retargeting to happen in a few different ways that LinkedIn has rolled out recently. But this is going to help you create much warmer lists to begin with, which, just like any other platform, are going to be some of your most prime leads where you're going to get more effective costs than going straight to cold audiences. So the way it works is you don't necessarily need to create a matched audience today, but you definitely want to get the Insights tag on your site, as I mentioned, so that you'll have the ability to do so once you're ready. So from there, you've added the Insights tag to your site, you created matched audiences. Number 3 is you want to find the audiences direct from your visitors. So this is what they call website tracking. And the Insights tag, this is the thing that I mentioned, it will give you value even if you never run ads on LinkedIn, because it's a great way to get an understanding of what kind of people are visiting your website. So LinkedIn will give you this information. So you've got a pixel on your website, the Insights tag, then LinkedIn is gathering data on everybody that visits your site and matching that back to those people's LinkedIn profiles. Because for the most part, if they have a LinkedIn profile, they're able to match that site visit to that person's LinkedIn profile and compile all of that data for you, and then they give you this overview of what kind of people are visiting your website. And this is really powerful information to know, and really can inform a lot of the things you're doing in your marketing as well, to understand what types of people are coming to our site. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can do with that data, even if you don't ever use LinkedIn ads. So this is kind of a low-hanging fruit thing that I recommend everybody do right away. But of course, targeting them in a campaign is the great thing to do as the next step. And that's what we're going to be talking about as we dig into the next lessons here. And so again, this is just another view showing some different ways that you can slice and dice this information to see who's visiting your website. So now that you've got the Insights tag on your site, we're going to take a look in the next section at the types of campaigns and goals that we recommend on LinkedIn.